Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnuhu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Narayana. Hari Om and greetings from Pittsburgh. All that we know in our lives, we have directly or indirectly learned. Whether it's brushing our teeth or driving, we've learned this. We've learned this directly by someone teaching us or us watching someone in an indirect way. And we get it when it comes to these very obvious activities. Cooking, how to fold a sari. But there's subtler aspects of who we are that we have also learned. And that need not be positive, such as stress, anxiety, to some extent, depression. I think of this word SAD as an acronym: stress, anxiety, depression. This is learned. When we see people who are stressed out, we start to feel that stress inside of us. When we feel people are anxious during exams, during a marriage process, we think that's natural. If we've learned this negativity, we have to unlearn this negativity and learn positivity. In a direct way, in an indirect way. And this is what we're doing. Directly by reading the Upadesha, the teachings of Sri Ramana, and indirectly by trying to visualize how this personality of enlightenment became enlightened. And so much so, I've often shared with all of you, you should feel like you can do anything. You can be anyone, you can do anything. Yes, you've heard me share that before. Sri Ramana, if you ever go to his ashram in Tamil Nadu, there's certain markings there where Sri Ramana has actually given liberation to certain animals. Now this is very contradictory to all that we've studied about Vedanta. That you need to have a developed intellect to discern that which is real, that which is unreal. Animals do not have such a developed intellect. They cannot be enlightened. But those with faith know that Sri Ramana loved a cow on the ashram premises named Lakshmi and had given her liberation. There was a dog that lived in the ashram also. His name was Jackie, and Jackie too was given liberation. Now you're all believers, so you're hearing what I'm saying. But those who are faithful are listening to what I'm saying also. Sri Ramana is an icon of enlightenment, and anyone who's purchased the book to study with, you would see an image of him, and that smile you cannot do up with makeup or drugs. That is most natural. Last week we took up Shloka 2, and in the second verse, in summary, I'm reminded of a teaching by Pujya Swami Tejomayananda, who says, do what you value. Do what you value. All of the students, we have a lot of university and college groups as part of our course. Do you value the subjects that you study? Put your hand up if you do. All of the people who are working are professionals. Those engaged in service as a career, do you value what you do? It seems like there's less hands up now. If we don't value what we do, all we're doing is implementation with no intention. And if intention is not there, there's no growth. There's no evolution. While I was chanting my prayers, why it was so quiet here, we are in our silence retreat. This is the 5th silence retreat that I've been part of. I was just going back that in 2014 we had a 40-hour silence retreat at Chinmayadhara. Some of you were there. In 2016, we did a 100-hour retreat and a 200-hour retreat, both at a retreat center in Pittsburgh. Last year we did a 50-hour retreat, and now we're facilitating our 100-hour retreat. And I shared with all of the sadhakas here, all of the seekers, that this retreat is not about restlessness. Our bodies are restless, our minds are restless. This retreat is about being deliberate. With every step you take, every thought you have, to be deliberate. These are just different words for, instead of engaging in implementation only, there has to be intention behind that implementation for that karma, for that action to serve a purpose. Do what you value. And you will know. You will be a different person when you do what you value. We continue to shloka 3, and this shloka will complete the first section of Upadesha Sara. Upadesha Sara actually takes all of the yogas and simplifies these. First Karma Yoga, then Bhakti Yoga, then Raja Yoga, which we're not too familiar with, but when we get there I'll elaborate. And the last 2/3 of Upadesha Sara focuses on Jnana Yoga in the most simplest way. I'll chant each line, you please repeat. Ishwararpitam nechaya kritam. Ishwararpitam nechaya kritam. Chitta shodakam mukti sadakam. Chitta shodakam mukti sadakam. Together. Ishwararpitam nechaya kritam. Chitta shodakam mukti sadakam. The first quarter. Ishvara arpitam. You all know someone named Arpita in your lives. Arpita means dedication. And Ishvara, in a technical sense, means controller, but in a more general sense means God. So dedication to, the controller, dedication to God. Whenever we dissect this word dedication, it's always in the context of acting for that which is bigger. Someone who's indulgent, are they dedicated to indulgence? Someone who's selfish, are they dedicated to selfishness? Wherever there's dedication, there's a bigness that is there. Someone who's dedicated to their family, someone who's dedicated to their service. It's bigger. When I'm dedicated to that which is bigger, this facilitates identification. Identification is a technical word for love. Think. Who are you dedicated to? What are you dedicated to? And you can replace that word with love. Who do you love? What do you love? They will go together, love and dedication. In Vedanta, in this science, identification and love are synonyms. times. So think some more. Who do you love the most? You love yourself the most. You are identified with yourself the most, no? Sri Ramana here is teaching us to be dedicated to that which is bigger than us. And I'm saying bigger and not even God yet. It's very easy for me to say, dedicate your life to God when we're angry with our families, when we feel our schooling system is polluted. Let us let go of selfishness. And when you start to love more and more and more, you start to love the biggest. And in Vedanta, what is the word for the biggest? Brahman. See how practical this subject is. See how evolution-oriented this is. It's not a revolution. Revolutions happen outside. Revolutions happen fast. This is evolution, inside, steady, sincere. Ishwararpitam. Na ichchaya kritam. Na means no. Ichchaya, my own liking. Kritam, I shouldn't do what I want to do. So I'll give you a context towards this teaching from Ramayana. When Bhagwan Rama is in Lanka, not the fortress, but the island, you know what Ravana is doing that night? He's engaged in swachanda, which means he's just doing whatever he wants to do. Eating this, drinking this. It's like being on a cruise. I don't know if I gave you that example before, but have you ever observed people on a cruise? They do whatever they want, but nobody's happy. It's a fake smile, especially when they come back from that cruise. Swachanda. For someone who's trying to be selfless, you cannot be indulgent. And Swami Tejramananda makes this even more specific. He says we have to let go of duragraha. The English word for duragraha is insistence. Every one of us has desires. We desire to be more popular. We desire to be more healthy. We desire for our significant others to reciprocate what we give. We have desires. It is the insistence that these desires, and specifically the results of these desires, that they manifest in the way that we want them to. That ichchaya, that makes us restless, that makes us impatient, intolerant. Insistence is the most destructive vice to have. Yes? Everyone agrees. Do you all know someone who's insistent? Now there's a difference here between being organized and being insistent. Because some people are interpreting we should just be disorganized and go with the flow, right? Being organized is important because you can serve more. And the more organized you are, the more flexible you become. When someone is disorganized, they even insist on that disorganization, correct? When someone tries to tidy up, when someone tries to plan ahead, they're shaken by that. Going deeper into letting go of selfishness. You know what's the last desire that you're going to have tonight? What is the last desire you will have tonight? I want to sleep. Yes, every one of us will have that universal desire, especially the people here. Even though they're doing nothing physically, but to be silent and to contemplate for 24 hours a day is demanding. We're just not used to it, so we become sleepy. You know what the last desire you will have in your journey? What it will be? I want to be free. That will be the last desire we all have the desire for moksha. And as long as I have that desire for freedom, that means I'm not free. Every desire implies an element of smallness. I feel small. I want to feel big. That's the desire. And for the person who wants to feel the biggest, that oneness, they will desire freedom. And even that seeker will have to let go of the desire for moksha. Now you're all thinking, yeah, you're right. Don't worry about that. That's a long time for now. First, let go of your desire to get lost in fantasy leagues and the desire to be the CEO, and etc., etc., etc. Then you can let go of the desire for freedom. The third quarter says Chitta Shodakam. This is an important quarter. I've mentioned this in different ways. Chitta means mind. Chitta means the antaha karana, the software. Mind, memory, intellect, ego. Shodakam means to purify. When someone is dedicated to God, they're letting go of indulgence. They start to purify their mind. One very tactile gauge of an impure mind is acting on one's likes and dislikes. When I was first studying Bhagavad Gita, I kept on seeing these terms, raga, dvesha, likes and dislikes, and I thought that it was over-exaggerated. Now that I've studied some more, likes and dislikes are the expression of vasanas. Vasanas are my personality blueprint, and my personality blueprint thinks that I'm a human. I'm just this skin, I'm just these thoughts. And then I act on it. Sri Ramana is telling us to let go of acting on likes and dislikes. That's how I start to change my personality. Only when we engage in dharma, when we engage in our responsibilities, do likes and dislikes become neutralized. For a young parent who has an infant, do they like waking up in the morning? This morning, Vyasa woke up at 4:30 a.m. He's learned, get up between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. So he's following that very religiously. Now, generally, do people like getting up at 4:30 a.m.? You tend not to like that, so what we should do is just let him cry it out, right? For hours and hours and hours. Is that good for someone who's 15 months old? Obviously not. So you can't have likes and dislikes. You just have to get up and soothe, feed, encourage that baby to sleep again. Now, when we think about our society, do we focus on responsibilities or do we focus on rights? True? There's so much push for my right over you, my right to this. When, if everyone followed their dharma, followed their responsibilities, we would be able to transcend likes and dislikes. We would change who we think we are, and the micro affects the macro. This is the way to start to change society. Next week, I'll be in Detroit speaking at Cognizant on wellness through work. And one of my main points that I will share with them is, don't work for a check. That's what many of us do, right? We literally go to work for that check. Work for contribution. This is your contribution to the company. This is your contribution to the community. Then you start to change who you are. You evolve rather than stay neutral or devolve. I'll add another thought here. A lot of university groups, as I shared, as you're choosing your professions, your careers in life, try your best to get into a service-oriented profession. 50 hours of our week should be dedicated to our health. 50 hours, 50. That's sleeping, that's grooming, that's exercising. 50 hours of our week should be dedicated to our home. That is our family, that is our friends, relationships. 34 hours should be dedicated to a company, whom you work for, to facilitate the functionality in your life, to pay for gas, to pay for insurance, to go on vacation. And 34 hours of your week should be dedicated to the community. Not your family, but the community, because your family is already included in the community. Now, if we analyze our time more, rarely do we meet someone who's giving 34 hours to the community, correct? But what if that company that you're working for is giving to the community? What if you're a guidance counselor? What if you're a social worker? What if you're involved in inspiring people? Then really you're giving 68 hours to the community, right? More chitta shodakam then. In the last quarter, Sri Ramana says, Mukti sadhakam. This word sadhana, you've heard this many times. I'll give you 3 S's to try to remember. Sadhya is the destination. For all of us, that is freedom. If there's a destination, there has to be a path. That's called sadhana. The sadhana takes me to the sadhya. The path takes me to peace. And if I use that sadhana, I'm called a sadhaka. I'm a seeker. That's why all of the people sitting around me, I called them sadhakas. They have no choice but to be in silence. Their only other choice is leave this retreat. They have to use the sadhana that they're being guided in, ideally to rediscover peace. So Sri Ramana is saying here, being dedicated to God, letting go of selfishness, will help purify the mind so that we can be free, so that there is mukti. Many of you studied Atma Bodha. We had studied this together, and we'll just shift back to our coordinator will fix this. Cleveland East, stop goofing around, please. What I was sharing is, in Atma Bodha, enlightenment is often described as prakasha. And prakasha is light. What does mukti feel like? What does freedom feel like? It feels like being lighter. The more and more light one feels, the more and more one is tuned into freedom. I'll be more specific about what lightness feels like. There's less stressful, there's more careful. Someone who's stressful doesn't know how to manage what's going on. Someone who's careful does. Feeling even more light, one doesn't feel anxious, one feels cheerful. Why does one smile? They just smile. Someone who's closer to mukti. And then if you take the depth of this, that is depression, when someone is feeling lighter, close to the light, they feel they are joy. They stop saying I am happy because they also say I'm unhappy then. They know their nature is joy. Like the nature of the sun is to give heat and light, their nature is to be independently joyous. Now, how did they get there? By purifying the software, to purge all vices. Vices like anger and lust and fear and ignorance. So that when one's Sadguru, one's guide comes into one's life and says, you are joy, you internalize that. This is the path to light. Completing this whole verse, this is on Karma Yoga. This is on being intentional while acting. The more we appreciate that there is a controller to our actions and to our results. The karma dhyaksha, one who governs actions, time, space, matter. One who governs results, the karma dhata. So karma dhyaksha, karma dhata, the less of a control freak I am. A control freak feels they are the doer, they should be the enjoyer. But when I appreciate that I'm not the one who's solely in control, there's someone who knows actions, who knows results, you're more lighthearted then. You become more accepting, you become more or less expecting. And the final thought for this class is, the more light we feel, the lighter we feel, the closer we are to God. The closer you move to the equator, the more heat there is. The more light you feel, the closer you are to the source of that light, which is God, Ishvara. Narayan.